Lose 10 pounds. Straight and simple today on the Do Hard Things Today podcast.
Well, you promised a Monday motivation, and I guess this is it. Lose 10 pounds. There's nobody on earth that needs to do that worse than I do.
Well, Jed, you couldn't sound more motivated over there leading into this.
No, I am motivated. I know I need to do it. I want to. I've actually lost a little bit of weight, and this last 10 pounds is being stubborn. I'm within 6 or 8 of having a 2 on the left-hand side of the scale.
Yeah.
And anybody that's seen me knows that's a big deal. And I'd like for that thing to say 299. How do I get there?
Well, the whole genesis of this why lose 10 pounds? What's 10 pounds matter? I've got a doctor friend who's a lot smarter than I am. And we were just talking one day just about just general health stuff. And he said, Kevin, he said people would be shocked. What? Losing 10 pounds. And when I say 10 pounds, losing 10 pounds of fat. You'd be shocked what that does to your body. He said just all the good things that means for your body. And so I was thinking about that. I was like, hey, well, we can do a podcast on here are just some general things. Again, we don't give medical advice here. We don't blah blah blah, all the stuff that you got to say when you know the deal. We're not doctors and we don't claim to be. And I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express last time. But these are tried and true things that if you'll do these things, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to probably drop 10 pounds if you need to of fat. And number one, and this has all kinds of health benefits, and we talk about it all the time. Just on about any time we do a health podcast, we talk about this one. Drink 1/2 of your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that means drink 100 ounces of water a day. And the reason for that is it keeps you hydrated. A lot of times we think the reason that we're hungry, we think we're hungry and we're really just dehydrated. Right. We're a chronically dehydrated group of people. And no, coffee does not count. We're talking about water. And if you start, you may think, oh man, how am I going to drink that much water? Well, you start in the morning. As soon as you wake up, you start drinking and you just drink water all day. Makes a huge difference. It does. It's got all kinds of health benefits, not just losing a little weight, but that is a key function of that. How are you on your water?
Not as good as, not that well, certainly, but I have just about cut out drinking my sugar. I don't drink any sugar. Yeah. And I'm trying to limit myself to one diet drink a day. I'll do some unsweet tea. I do put a spoonful of sugar in my coffee, but other than that, it's either water or unsweet tea or a diet soda. There's no sugar that I'm intaking that way. Yeah, it needs to be all water though.
Well, see, and you're hitting on it here because if you're drinking plenty of water, you're generally not going to be thirsty.
Right.
And then when you get thirsty,
you want water.
You want water because if you're hey, I need to stop at the store and get a drink, and you're thirsty, and you walk in and you love Cokes, Pepsis, Mountain Dews, whatever it is, whatever your flavor of choice is, it's very tempting to get that.
Right.
So
I'll tell you one thing that's kind of taking that edge off for me a little bit. I can't pronounce the French one, and I'm not going to do it wrong, but the sparkling water, the fruit-flavored sparkling water, I use an Aldi brand, and it gives me the bubbles, and it gives me the snap that I'm looking for, and it's just carbonated water.
Yep.
So I do that a lot, too.
Yep. And that counts, and that counts, and that it just you said it, and this kind of goes into number 2 as well, that cut out white breads and sugars. The worst thing in the world you can do is drink your sugars.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at, I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about the amount of sugar that and they were talking about 20-year-old college students, and they're talking about the amount of sugar that they take in a day, just plain talking about white processed sugar that they take in during the day is more than the average person back in the paleo period took in an entire month. And so drinking your sugar is like the worst thing in the world that we can do, because it just hits straight in. I mean, it just goes straight in, and your body, and you feel that high. And the problem is it takes you on a roller coaster where it takes you really, really high, then you start crashing, and you need some more.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle. And white breads, and I'm always very careful about telling people to cut out whole groups of things. I don't think a low carb diet is the answer. It's cutting out the bad carbs.
Right.
And
nobody loves bread more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I just do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it tastes good.
Right.
And it makes us, and a lot of these things are kind of addictive in the way they taste, but there are a whole lot better options out there. And if you can pull yourself away from those just straight up processed white bread, these sugars that are coming in, I mean, you can really make a lot of progress. And after you kind of come off of that addiction from them, you start feeling better.
Right.
And you really do start feeling better. And what, have you ever had any success with that? You've probably cut out bread before. I would imagine we all have.
I did the induction phase of, I guess it was Atkins. It was 15 years ago, maybe.
And that's like the induction. I think it's like 10 grams of carbs or below.
And I did it and I lost 17 pounds in 2 weeks, and I was a miserable human being to be around.
Yeah.
So I quit. But I mean, I couldn't. I didn't like the way I was acting having done that. And people say it got better right after that, but I don't know whether it will or not.
Well, you take these extreme, again, that's when you start putting whole things like carbs and saying, I'm going to be X amount of carbs or below. That's where you start kind of putting yourself in a box.
Yeah. And Bonnie said this several times. What kind of diet are you on that you can't have fruit?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I remember we used to be in this little group. This was, man, I mean, my oldest daughter's 20 years old now. And it's when she was like 3 years old. So it was like 16, 17 years ago. And I was doing the same thing, the Atkins. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was standing around the table, and everybody, it's kind of one of the deal that everybody brings like, an appetizer or whatever. And I remember I was looking at like the chips and the other stuff. And it was like I was having these lustful thoughts in my head of just looking at those chips like, I got to have one of those. And I remember I was like, this can't be right. This can't be the way we're supposed to live. But I think you can, without taking it to the extreme of saying, I can only have 10 grams of carbs, or I can only have 50 grams of carbs. You can look and say, well, what are the big things I need to cut out? Well, simple sugars, which are those white sugars and that kind of thing. And then if you just look and say, all right, white bread, I'm going to cut out. One of the breads that I've grown to enjoy is called Dave's Killer Bread. You can see them in any kind of grocery store or whatever. They're not sponsoring the podcast. Hey, Dave,
they can.
Dave, if you're listening, you can sponsor a podcast. Whoever Dave is, probably not Dave. It's probably Cindy from New Hampshire. But it's a much healthier option for the way it's. I mean, it's not, when you're trying to look at less processed and less just, enriched, flour and those kind of things. So white, keep those white breads and sugars to a minimum. The next thing is, it's the second piece of the puzzle. There's two pieces of the puzzle always. You've got what you're putting in your mouth and then what you're doing with your body. Right. And add in some HIIT training. A lot of times people want to lose weight. They just go jump on the treadmill, or I just need to start doing cardio. Right. And cardio is good. It's got its place. And we talk a lot about running and triathlon on this podcast. And so, we believe in running, but HIIT training, high intensity interval training, has a better impact. It seems it has a better impact on your body as far as being able to metabolize your fat and make you stronger and have more lasting benefits for you, specifically for weight loss. And that means don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't mean you have to go start doing CrossFit, which CrossFit is good. There's a lot of different options. F45 is a training thing. I think Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. He's the guy that started Mark. Remember Marky Mark?
I do. And the Funky Bunch.
Yeah, that's how I remember. Everybody else remembers him as, this great new mature actor, but for me, he'll always be Marky Mark. But F45, it's basically it's on that 45 minutes of high intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Get your heart rate high, keep it high. It's not a super long workout, but it's high, and then it's interval training where you get that heart rate high, take a quick break, let it come down. Get it high again, come down. And so that high intensity interval training is something that is really good. Again, consult your physician. If you're coming straight off of the couch, you don't need to go jump into this. You can slowly monitor these things. And I'll say this: if you're walking into a gym for the first time, and make sure it's a place that meets you where you are and helps you walk through this. Great way to get yourself hurt is just walk in a place and just start doing crazy stuff you see other people doing.
I have the advantage of having a buddy who's a strength coach. Joey Hawkins, who's a strength coach at Blacksburg now. He's been at Boiling Springs, been at Woodmont, a couple other places. He walked me through some HIIT stuff back when I was first doing some of it. And he had a program, it's quarters is what it's called.
Yep.
And it's a series of sprints that I'm not sure which college coach he borrowed it from, but it's scheduled to simulate a quarter of football. And he gave me the offensive line quarters because that's my size and one of the offensive defensive line. And you sprint 7 yards and you rest for a minute.
Yep.
And you sprint 2 yards and you rest for 5 seconds. And you sprint 40 yards and you rest for 40 seconds. And you sprint 12 yards. And it's amazing what just those short distances can do. And it's repeatable, and he printed it out. It was, when I was in what I felt like was the best cardio shape, that's what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You don't have to go out and, long distance running, long distance is not that good. It's not good.
Because especially when you're heavy, it's tough on your joints. It's tough on your body.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it is. Again, I'm not telling you not to do that because I do it. You know, we talk about the Dopey Challenge, these long things that we do. But if you're just looking at, I want to get myself in shape. I want to lose some weight. I just want to be in good shape. Where that high intensity interval training is something that you should. And don't, again, and Jed just alluded to it, don't let it scare you and think, oh, I was flipping through ESPN and the CrossFit Games were on. And so I'm going to go start swinging around on a gymnastics pole and
flinging kettlebells over my shoulders.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's just getting your heart rate up and then bringing it down. Getting your heart rate up and then bringing it down. So the HIIT training, let's talk about something else you can add in. And that is eat at least 5 servings of vegetables or fruit daily. So we've all heard that our whole lives, but it's hard to do because we live in a processed world. But if you can somehow schedule to where you're eating 5 servings of fruit and vegetables daily, it just changes your whole nutrition. You're able to get things in that matters. How do you take that one, Jed?
I love vegetables. I like them. The ones I don't love, I know how to hide. I don't necessarily have to hide them, but like I made kind of it's going to sound weird, it's like a Korean spaghetti sauce the other night. It's egg noodles. It's very Asian. It's good. But it's got mushrooms in it. If you don't watch me cook it and I chop them up the right way and you can tell me there are mushrooms in it, I'll give you $5.
Yeah.
Because I hid them. They're in there and you don't know they're in there. This time of year, we're coming up to the end of it. This time of year where we live, it's not difficult to eat vegetables.
Yeah.
You can do it all the time. Did it growing up. There were weeks in the summertime when I was a kid that we didn't have meat. And it's not because we didn't have it. We just didn't want it. We just ate what came out of the ground.
Yep.
It gets harder in the wintertime, but it's still doable. If you eat what's in season, especially, because if you eat what's in season, it's what tastes good right then.
Yeah, and that is healthy. And like I said, find a good farmer's market. You know,
we got a great one right here in Spartanburg.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. I mean, there's usually one, and the way these things are trending, these things are generally downtown. Wherever you're listening, if you go downtown, there's usually a farmer's market, and you can you can get really good stuff. And you can, like, again, you can hide these things. A perfect one, spinach and smoothies.
Yeah.
Make a smoothie, you put spinach in it. Yeah, it turns it green, but you can't taste it. You can't taste it. And, then just look at your frozen, whenever you get into months where you can. I mean, there's frozen varieties and different things, but just don't overcomplicate it. If you can just hit, I need to get 5 in.
Hey, if you're tailgating a ball game from the comfort of your living room, because I don't pay for tickets anymore.
Yeah.
If you're tailgating a ball game, you make you some onion dip. Go cut up a cucumber.
Yeah.
Instead of reaching for that bag of chips. Now the onion dip was a different matter.
Yeah.
But cut up a cucumber to dip in buffalo chicken dip or something like that. Don't go for the easy chips. And I know I'm preaching to I'm I'm not among the converted yet, but it makes sense.
It does, and like even celery with that, and even if you don't cut the chips out completely, if you commit to, hey, all right, I'm going to have, for every chip I eat, I'm going to eat one of the little celery things. It just changes what's going into your body.
Well, and a lot of it's what we've talked about on several of these podcasts. I'm making this decision today. This is what I'm going to do today.
Exactly.
And just little things.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're adding that in. And then the last thing is get some accountability. And accountability is just, you tell somebody you're doing it, and you get them to ask you the question of, hey man, are you holding up? Are you doing it? You said, hey, Jed, you said you wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm.
That 299. All right. How you making progress towards that?
You're going to let me go buy scale batteries today. I can feel it coming.
That's it. Go get those scale batteries. But just get the accountability in your life. And as if you'll do these things, and it came from my friend saying, physician friend saying, you just don't know what 10 pounds, the difference it makes inside your body, what it does just to all the different systems inside of your body. So, if you're at that spot where you're trying to lose 10 pounds, trying to get yourself back in shape, hopefully these things will help you. We are back on course with the podcast, Monday Motivations, and this one coming to you, lose 10 pounds. The next Monday Motivation, Jed's going to get the report, because now he's accountable to all you listeners on how he's doing with this, because football season is back in full tow. And I know a lot of times I like to sit down, and next thing I know is 6 hours later, and I've eaten chicken wings and all of that. So we're going to hold each other accountable, and we're going to hold you accountable, and you will be getting these podcasts on a regular basis now that we are back in fall. And like Jed's already referenced it, the way we end every podcast is the most important thing you'll ever hear from us. And that is, if you will do the hard things today, then tomorrow will take care of itself.